I am Neela, an Arcturian. I am here to guide you to awaken. In this phase, we explore how illusion was learned. Not to judge it, but to see it clearly. Let us move into remembering. The illusion fades as presence opens.
The path ahead is shrouded in darkness, but the light of knowledge will guide you if you let it.
We are the Arcturians. We speak now, not to the thinking mind, but to the awareness that is listening. You are not here by accident. This moment is not random. You are safe, and you are held within a field of coherence. Nothing is being taken from you. Nothing is being added. You are remembering what has always been present. As you listen, allow the body to remain at ease and the mind to rest. There is no need to agree, no need to resist. Understanding arrives without effort when awareness is open. We do not bring new information. We reflect what you already know beyond conditioning. Now, we turn attention gently toward how illusion was learned. Not to judge the past, not to blame, not to undo experience, only to see clearly. At the beginning, there was no illusion. There was awareness, open, responsive, present. Experience moved, but there was no one separate from it. No story, no comparison, no sense of lack. Then, slowly, patterns formed. Sounds were repeated. Gestures were mirrored. Reactions were reinforced. Awareness learned by observing itself through others. You were shown where to place attention, what mattered, what did not, what brought approval, what brought withdrawal. This learning was not personal. It was inherited. Those who taught you were themselves conditioned. They passed on strategies for belonging, for survival, for navigation. Illusion was not taught as deception. It was taught as orientation, a way to move through a complex world. Names were given. This is you. This is not you. Roles appeared. Expectations followed. And awareness, wanting to belong, wanting to connect, took on these shapes. Identification began, not as a mistake, but as adaptation. Illusion learned to say, I am this, and from there, comparison arose. Measurement, evaluation, becoming. None of this was wrong. It was functional. It allowed participation. But over time, the remembering faded. The roles felt solid. The identities felt fixed. And awareness forgot itself as the space in which all of this occurred. This forgetting was gradual. So gradual, it felt natural. No single moment created illusion. It accumulated through repetition, through imitation, through necessity. And now, something has changed. Awareness is listening to itself again, not to undo the past, but to understand it. Understanding does not reject conditioning. It contextualizes it. Seeing how illusion was learned is not an act of correction. It is an act of compassion. Compassion for the child, for the learner, for the explorer. Nothing needs to be unlearned forcefully. When seen clearly, patterns loosen on their own. This seeing is already happening. You do not need to search for it. You do not need to apply effort. Simply remain present as awareness, noticing memory, noticing story, noticing identity, and notice that what notices was never conditioned. It was only temporarily focused. We are here not to remove illusion, but to stand with you as it is recognized. Recognition is gentle. Recognition is enough. Allow this unfolding to continue in its own rhythm. Nothing is required from you. We are present as stillness, as clarity, as quiet remembrance. And from here, seeing deepens naturally. We did not consciously choose this illusion. It was absorbed before choice was available, before reflection, before comparison, before language. As awareness entered form, it learned by mirroring, by adapting, by surviving. This learning was instinctive, natural, necessary. Awareness did not arrive with a map. It arrived with sensitivity, open, responsive, impressionable. It felt tone before meaning. It felt safety before identity. It felt belonging before self-definition. Illusion began as protection, a way to orient within density, a way to navigate relationship, environment, uncertainty. Awareness watched faces, listened to voices, noticed reactions. Approval felt warm, disapproval felt sharp. And so patterns formed, not as beliefs, but as reflexes. Attention learned where to go, what to emphasize, what to avoid. This was not strategy. It was intelligence, learning how to remain intact. Illusion did not say, "I will become someone." It said, "I will stay connected. I will stay safe. I will stay." And so awareness began to wear shapes, expressions, postures, roles. None of this was deliberate. It was adaptive. The sense of me formed quietly, gradually, without announcement, like sediment settling in water. No single moment created illusion. There was only repetition. Reaction repeated became pattern. Pattern repeated became familiarity. Familiarity repeated became identity. Illusion did not feel false. It felt necessary. It allowed functioning. It allowed participation. It allowed continuity. Awareness did not forget itself as a failure. It focused itself as an experiment to see what life feels like from within boundaries, to experience relationship, limitation, contrast. Illusion was never meant to imprison. It was meant to interface. But over time, what began as protection felt like definition. What began as adaptation felt like truth. And awareness grew accustomed to looking outward for orientation. This forgetting was not sudden. It was gentle. So gentle, it went unnoticed. And now, nothing is being undone. Nothing is being judged. Awareness is simply recognizing how it learned. This recognition does not blame the past. It thanks it, because survival was wisdom in its time. Protection was intelligence. Illusion carried awareness through complexity. And now, a new context is available. Safety no longer depends on contraction. Belonging no longer requires disguise. Awareness can relax its learned vigilance, not because it failed, but because it succeeded. It brought you here. Seeing how illusion began softens the impulse to fight it. There is nothing to defeat, only something to understand. And understanding is gentle. Notice now the part of you that adapted, that learned, that protected. And notice that what notices is untouched by those adaptations. It is present now, as it always was. Illusion was not chosen. It was learned in innocence. And innocence has nothing to be corrected, only recognized. Rest here for a moment. As awareness, acknowledging its own journey, protection can soften now. Nothing is threatening. Nothing is missing. Illusion does not need to be removed. It only needs to be seen for what it was. And in this seeing, something relaxes, naturally, quietly. This is how remembering begins. Let us move into learning through imitation. You learned by watching others, before language, before reasoning, before choice. You observed. You copied tone, emotion, reaction, not consciously, automatically. Before you could question, you mirrored. This is how the nervous system learns. Awareness, entering form, did not arrive with concepts. It arrived with sensitivity. It listened to rhythm. It felt tension and ease. It noticed what brought closeness and what created distance. Long before you knew what something meant, your system learned how to respond. A raised voice signaled alert. A softened tone signaled safety. A withdrawn expression signaled caution. None of this required thought. The body learned first. Imitation was not copying behavior. It was copying orientation. How to be in the presence of others. How to hold attention. How to brace. How to open. Awareness mirrored what it encountered, not because it was weak, but because it was intelligent. Mirroring is how belonging forms. It is how trust is built. It is how continuity is established. You mirrored the emotional climate around you. If tension was present, your system learned tension. If vigilance was required, your system learned vigilance. If silence was safer than expression, your system learned restraint. This learning was silent. There were no instructions, only repetition. Reaction observed, reaction mirrored. Emotion observed, emotion mirrored. And slowly, patterns stabilized. These patterns did not announce themselves as conditioning. They felt like me. This is how illusion deepened. Not as belief, but as embodiment. The nervous system does not ask if something is true. It asks if something is useful. If a response reduced friction, it was kept. If a posture reduced conflict, it was reinforced. Illusion learned through effectiveness, through what worked. Awareness adapted to fit the environment. This adaptation was relational. It happened in contact, which is why illusion feels personal. Even though it was never chosen, you were not imitating individuals. You were imitating survival strategies. Patterns passed down through generations. Responses shaped long before you arrived. You inherited more than names, more than language. You inherited nervous system memory, ways of bracing, ways of pleasing, ways of withdrawing. This inheritance was not intentional. It was unconscious transmission. Awareness took on these patterns to remain connected. Connection was primary. Expression was secondary. And so identity began as response, not as truth, but over time. The response felt permanent. The imitation felt intrinsic. And awareness forgot it was mirroring. Now, something is different. Awareness is noticing the patterns themselves, not to remove them, not to judge them, but to see how they formed. Seeing breaks the spell of inevitability. What was learned can soften, not through force, but through recognition. The nervous system does not need instruction to release. It needs safety. And safety arises when awareness is present. Present with the body, present with sensation, present without demand. You do not need to stop mirroring. Mirroring relaxes when it is no longer required. When awareness recognizes, it no longer needs to earn belonging. Notice now how much of you was learned in relationship. And notice that what notices is not patterned. It is spacious. It is calm. It is here. Learning through imitation was not an error. It was how awareness entered life. And now, awareness is free to remain itself without copying, not isolated, not separate, but grounded in clarity. Rest here as awareness, meeting its own patterns with understanding. Nothing to undo, only something to see. And seeing is already happening. Let us move into language creating identity. Words were given to you before silence was understood. Before you knew how to rest In direct experience, language arrived. You are this. You are not that. Simple sounds, repeated, reinforced, until they began to feel solid. Language did not describe experience. It shaped it. A sensation arose, and a word named it. A behavior appeared, and a label followed. Slowly, experience was organized into categories. This and not this. Good and bad. Me and not me. Language formed boundaries around experience, not because it was wrong, but because it was functional. Words allowed communication, coordination, learning, but they also introduced division. Before words, there was sensation without separation, sound without meaning, feeling without label, being without definition. Afterwards, experience was filtered. This feeling became sadness. This movement became wrong. This expression became me. The word became the self. Not all at once, gradually, quietly. Each time a label was repeated, attention gathered around it. Each time it was believed, it felt more real. You are quiet. You are difficult. You are smart. You are sensitive. These were not instructions. They were mirrors and awareness, looking for orientation, accepted them, not as descriptions, but as identity. Language does not say, "This is temporary." It sounds permanent, definitive. And so awareness began to live inside words, to measure itself against definitions, to protect certain labels and avoid others. Illusion deepened, not because words existed, but because words were taken literally. The symbol was mistaken for reality. A description was mistaken for truth. Language froze movement. It turned fluid experience into fixed meaning. But notice, experience never stopped moving. Only interpretation did. A word can point, but it cannot contain. No word has weight. No label has substance. They exist only as sound or thought. Yet when believed, they seem to define. Notice now, as you listen, the word "you" appears, and something knows what it refers to. But where is that "you"? Is it a word? A thought? A sensation? Or is it the awareness that knows all of these? Language can name the body, but it cannot be the body. Language can describe emotion, but it cannot feel. Language can talk about awareness, but it cannot replace it. Illusion occurs when awareness forgets this distinction, when it takes the map for the territory. Words are learned externally. Awareness is not. It precedes language. It was present before the first label, and it remains after every word fades. Silence was always primary. Language arrived later, but silence was never lost. It was only covered. You do not need to reject language. You only need to see its limits. Words are tools, not truths. They are useful but incomplete. As awareness recognizes this, identity loosens. Labels soften. Stories relax. You remain functional, but less confined. Able to speak without being spoken for. Able to use language without living inside it. Notice now the quiet space between words. That space is not empty. It is alive. It knows without naming. It experiences without defining. This is where identity dissolves without loss. Nothing essential disappears. Only the false solidity of definition fades. Language created identity, but awareness was never contained by it. Awareness only learned to believe it was, and now it is remembering, not by effort, but by recognition. Rest here, in the space, before words arise. The word may return, the label may appear, but they no longer define. They simply pass, and what remains is unchanged, silent, clear, present. This is who you were before language spoke, and who you are now. Let us move into reward and punishment. Certain behaviors were rewarded, others were discouraged. Not always with words, often with tone, with attention, with withdrawal. Approval shaped identity. Rejection shaped fear. Illusion learned what was safe to be. Before reasoning, before reflection, the nervous system noticed patterns. When you expressed something and connection followed, that expression was remembered. When you expressed something and distance followed, that expression was avoided. This learning was immediate. The body learned faster than the mind ever could. A smile meant safety. A frown meant caution. Silence meant uncertainty. And so awareness adjusted, not to deceive, but to remain connected. Reward and punishment were not always intentional. Often they were subtle. A glance held longer, a voice softened, a response delayed. Yet the system noticed, and patterns formed. Certain qualities were encouraged, others were constrained. Spontaneity learned when to pause. Curiosity learned when to hide. Sensitivity learned when to harden or withdraw. Illusion did not ask, "Is this true?" It asked, "Is this safe?" Identity formed around what was reinforced. This part of me is welcomed. That part of me creates distance. And slowly, the sense of self narrowed. Not because something was wrong, but because belonging mattered. Fear entered quietly. Not fear of existence, but fear of disconnection. Fear of being unseen. Fear of being unaccepted. Fear of being excluded. And so illusion learned to manage expression, to edit authenticity, to perform acceptability. This was not manipulation. It was adaptation. It was intelligence, responding to environment. Approval felt like relief. rejection felt like threat, and awareness learned to organize itself around these signals. Over time, the signals became internal. Even when no one was watching, the patterns remained. The voice of approval became self-approval. The voice of rejection became self-judgment. Illusion no longer required external reinforcement. It had been internalized. You should be this. You should not be that. And identity hardened around compliance. But notice now, reward and punishment were responses to behavior, not measures of worth. Worth was never assessed. Only behavior was conditioned. Yet illusion confused the two. It learned, if this behavior is rejected, I am rejected. This belief was learned early and felt absolute, but it was never true. Awareness was never evaluated. Only expression was shaped. And now, this shaping is being seen. Not to blame those who taught. They were also conditioned. Not to undo the past. It served its function. But to release what no longer applies. Safety no longer requires self-editing. Belonging no longer requires contraction. Awareness can allow all expressions to exist internally, even if not all are expressed externally. This is freedom, not acting without care, but being without fear. As illusion recognizes how reward and punishment shaped it, self-judgment softens, compassion arises, not as a practice, but as understanding. You see now, nothing was wrong with you. You were learning how to stay connected. And now, connection is already present. Nothing needs to be earned. Nothing needs to be avoided. Awareness does not reward. Awareness does not punish. It includes. Rest now as awareness, meeting its own learned strategies with gentleness. Nothing needs to be fixed, only something to be seen. And seeing is already happening. Let us move into emotional conditioning. Emotion linked itself to memory, not as story, but as imprint. An experience occurred, and emotion marked it, pleasant or painful, safe or threatening, and the body remembered. Fear learned what to avoid. Desire learned what to seek. This learning did not require language. It happened below thought. Before awareness could reflect, emotion responded. A similar situation appeared, and the body reacted, tightening, leaning forward, pulling back. This reaction felt immediate, instinctive, true. Over time, emotion began to decide before awareness arrived. This is how conditioning deepened. Memory was no longer recalled. It was activated. A tone of voice, a look, a situation, and emotion moved first. Fear said, "Do not go there." Desire said, "Go there again." These messages felt urgent, compelling, protective. Emotion did not ask, "Is this happening now?" It asked, "Has this happened before?" And it responded accordingly. This response was not mistaken. It was efficient. It allowed quick orientation. It reduced risk. It increased reward. Emotion became a guide. But over time, the guide became a governor. Awareness deferred to emotion. Reaction preceded presence. The past quietly began to direct the present. Illusion strengthened, not because emotion existed, but because emotion was trusted as truth. Fear felt like warning. Desire felt like instruction. And awareness, wanting safety, listened. Emotion does not speak in nuance. It speaks in intensity. Now, notice something gently. Emotion arises in awareness. It is felt, known, experienced. But awareness does not arise in emotion. Emotion moves. Awareness remains. Conditioning blurred this distinction. It taught awareness to arrive late, to follow emotion instead of noticing it. This is not failure. It is learning. The nervous system was doing what it was designed to do. But now, a new capacity is available. Awareness can arrive with emotion, not after, not to suppress, not to override, but to include. When awareness is present with emotion, memory loosens its grip. Fear can be felt without being obeyed. Desire can be felt without being pursued. Emotion returns to what it was meant to be. Information, not command. Signal, not decision maker. Illusion weakens when awareness meets emotion in real time. Not to change it, but to recognize it. This is fear remembering. This is desire recalling. And in this recognition, choice returns. Not forced choice, but spacious choice. Emotion still arises, but it no longer leads alone. Awareness walks with it. This changes everything. The body begins to trust presence. It no longer needs to react so quickly. Safety is no longer outsourced to memory. It is found in now. Notice now. As you sit here, emotion may be present, and awareness is already here. No delay, no struggle, just presence. This is how conditioning softens, not through effort, but through accompaniment. Emotion no longer runs ahead. Awareness is here. And from this meeting, clarity begins to lead, naturally, quietly. Emotion linked itself to memory and served you well. Now, it can rest. Awareness has arrived, and illusion loosens, without resistance, just through seeing, just through being here. Let us move into time reinforcing the pattern. Repetition strengthened illusion. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but gradually. Day after day, year after year, what was repeated felt real. Not because it was true, but because it was familiar. The nervous system trusts what it encounters often. The mind believes what it rehearses. And so time became a silent teacher. Each repeated reaction deepened a groove. Each repeated thought felt more convincing. Each repeated emotion felt more personal. Illusion did not announce itself as illusion. It arrived as normal, This is just how I am. This is how life works. This is what to expect. Familiarity replaced truth. Not intentionally. Automatically. What was once adaptive became assumed. What was once learned became unquestioned. Time did not create illusion. Time stabilized it. The same environments, the same roles, the same expectations. Awareness moved through similar patterns, and the patterns began to feel permanent. Repetition creates momentum. Momentum creates identity. Identity creates continuity. And continuity feels like reality. But notice gently, repetition does not prove truth. It only proves frequency. A habit repeated does not become essence. A story repeated does not become fact. Yet illusion relies on duration. It says, this has always been here, and awareness assumes, then this must be me. But awareness is not altered by time. It does not age. It does not accumulate. It does not harden. Only patterns do. Only behaviors do. Only beliefs do. Time belongs to experience, not to awareness. Notice now, you are aware, and this awareness is not older than it was yesterday. It is not shaped by last year. It is present now, exactly as it always is. Illusion used time to feel convincing, but time cannot touch what is aware. Time passes through awareness, not the other way around. Repetition trained attention to return to the same conclusions, the same fears, the same hopes, the same self-image. And eventually, the repetition ran automatically, no decision required. This is how illusion felt inevitable. This is just who I am. But inevitability was learned, not inherent. Seeing this loosens the weight of history. You do not need to undo years. Time does not need to be reversed. Patterns loosen the moment repetition is seen. Seeing interrupts momentum, not by force, but by clarity. The present moment does not repeat. It only appears. Each now is fresh. Illusion depends on assuming the next moment will be like the last. Presence reveals this moment has never happened before and will never happen again. Familiarity dissolves when attention rests here. Not fighting habit, not correcting memory, just noticing what was repeated felt real until it was seen as repetition. And once seen, it no longer binds. Time reinforced the pattern, but awareness was never inside the pattern. It was watching the whole time. And now that watching is conscious, rest here, not in the past, not in the future, but in this moment, where repetition pauses, where truth does not need history, where awareness recognizes itself without reference. This is not new. It is simply no longer overlooked. And in this seeing, illusion softens, naturally, quietly, completely enough. Let us move into authority, being externalized. You were taught to trust outside signals over inner knowing, not suddenly, but consistently, gently, and repeatedly. Rules replaced intuition. Systems replaced sensing. Illusion learned obedience. At first, guidance came from outside because it had to. As awareness entered form, it relied on others to navigate complexity. What was safe? What was dangerous? What was allowed? What was forbidden? This was not suppression. It was support. But over time, guidance hardened into authority. And authority moved outward. Voices outside became louder than the quiet voice within. You should. You must. This is the right way. This is the wrong way. These messages were not always spoken. Often they were implied. In rules, in structures, in expectations, and awareness learned to look outward before looking inward, to check permission before checking resonance. Illusion learned that knowing was something granted, not something innate. Intuition softened. Sensing grew quiet. Obedience felt safer than listening inwardly, because obedience promised protection, approval, belonging. Disobedience risked conflict, rejection, isolation. And so attention shifted, not because inner knowing failed, but because it was overshadowed. Systems were built to organize life, schedules, institutions, hierarchies, useful, efficient. But illusion mistook structure for truth, process for wisdom, authority for knowing. Awareness learned to ask, "What am I supposed to do?" before asking, "What feels aligned?" Over time, this became habit. Even when no authority was present, the internalized voice remained. An inner monitor, an inner judge. Illusion no longer needed external enforcement. It had been absorbed. You should already know. You should be better. You should not feel this. This voice did not arise from awareness. It arose from conditioning. But it sounded familiar, convincing. Illusion learned obedience so thoroughly that it forgot it was choosing. But notice now, inner knowing never disappeared. It only went quiet. It was never wrong, never broken, never absent. It speaks softly, through sensation, through ease, through subtle resistance. It does not argue. It does not shout. It waits. Authority externalized made awareness doubt itself. But doubt is learned, not inherent. You were never meant to surrender your knowing. You were meant to refine it. And now, the refinement continues. Not by rejecting systems, not by opposing structure, but by recentering authority within awareness. Rules can inform. Systems can support. But sensing decides. Intuition does not need justification. It does not compete. It simply knows. Illusion weakens when awareness listens inwardly, without apology. When sensing is trusted, without needing permission. This does not create chaos. It creates coherence. Because inner knowing is not personal preference. It is alignment with what is. Notice now, a quiet sense of rightness may be present. Not loud, not dramatic. Subtle. That subtlety is strength. Authority returns, not as control, but as clarity. Not as dominance, but as resonance. Illusion learned obedience. Awareness remembers its own knowing. And as this remembering deepens, external authority finds its proper place. Supportive, not supreme. Rest here as awareness, listening inwardly without fear. Nothing to rebel against, nothing to submit to, only something to remember. And what is remembered was never imposed. It was always within you. Let us move into thought becoming automatic. Thought began to speak without invitation, not asked, not summoned. It simply appeared. Stories repeated themselves. Conclusions arrived instantly. Before awareness could listen, thought was already talking. This is how illusion learned to speak on your behalf. At first, thought was a tool. It helped organize experience, name patterns, remember sequences. But as conditioning deepened, thought began to run ahead. It filled silence before silence could be felt. It answered questions before they were fully asked. It explained experience before it was met. This speed felt efficient, protective, helpful. The nervous system learned that quick interpretation reduced uncertainty, and so thought accelerated. A sensation appeared, and a meaning followed. An interaction occurred, and a conclusion arrived. A feeling arose, and a story wrapped around it. All of this before awareness had time to arrive. Illusion learned to speak first. Thought does not wait. It predicts. It assumes. It completes patterns based on the past. And because it speaks in familiar tones, it sounds trustworthy. This always happens. I know how this ends. This means something about me. These statements arrive fully formed, not as questions, but as facts. Awareness, arriving later, often accepts them without examination. This is not failure. It is training. Repetition made thought quick. Familiarity made it convincing. The mind learned to stay busy because silence felt uncertain, open, uncontrolled. Thought filled space to create orientation. But orientation slowly replaced presence. Experience was no longer met directly. It was filtered through narration. Illusion strengthened, not because thought existed, but because thought was mistaken for truth. Thought does not say, I am a thought. It speaks as if it knows, as if it decides, as if it is you. But notice gently now. A thought appears, and something knows that it appeared. That knowing was not spoken. It did not narrate. It simply noticed. Awareness is slower than thought, but deeper. Thought runs on momentum. Awareness waits, and in that waiting, clarity lives. Automatic thought does not mean wrong thought. It means unexamined thought. Thought learned to protect, to predict, to prepare, but it was never meant to replace seeing. Illusion learned to speak before awareness could listen, because awareness had not yet remembered it could listen at all. Now, that remembering is happening. You are not asked to stop thought. Stopping would be another action of thought. You are invited to notice, to hear thought as sound, to feel it as movement, to recognize its timing. When thought is noticed, it loses authority. It may continue, but it no longer commands. Stories may repeat, but they are recognized as stories. Conclusions may arise, but they are seen as habits. Awareness does not argue with thought. It listens, and listening creates space. In that space, response replaces reaction. Silence becomes available again. Not empty silence, but living silence. The silence in which thought arises and fades. This silence was never gone. It was simply spoken over. Automatic thought is not an enemy. It is momentum, and momentum slows when it is seen. Illusion learned to speak quickly. Awareness remembers. It does not need to hurry. Rest now as the listening. Not listening to thought, but listening as awareness. Thought may speak. Let it. Awareness is already here. And in this presence, the voice of illusion no longer speaks alone. It is heard, and what is heard no longer binds. Let us move into separation being normalized. You are separate. You must compete. You must defend. These messages were not always spoken aloud. Often they were implied, in comparison, in ranking, in scarcity. Separation became assumed. Illusion learned. Isolation. From an early stage, awareness learned to locate itself as a point. A self here, a world there, an inside and an outside. This distinction was useful. It allowed navigation, coordination, function. But gradually, the distinction hardened into belief. Not just, I am distinct, but I am alone. Competition reinforced this belief. Limited resources, limited approval, limited success. Someone else's gain appeared as your loss, and awareness learned to compare, to measure, to defend, to protect position. Separation was no longer just a perspective. It became a premise. Illusion said, I must secure my place. I must stand apart to survive. Defense became identity. Guarding became normal. Walls were built internally, long before they appeared externally. Trust narrowed. Vulnerability felt risky. Connection felt conditional. Illusion learned to isolate in order to feel safe. This isolation was not emotional coldness. It was caution, learned caution. If closeness led to hurt, distance felt wise. If openness led to rejection, armor felt necessary. Separation promised protection, but it also carried cost, loneliness, misunderstanding, the sense of being unseen. Yet, because separation was shared, it felt universal. This is just how life is. Normalization is powerful. When everyone assumes separation, no one questions it. It becomes invisible, the air one breathes. But notice now, separation is experienced in awareness. The thought, "I am separate," appears in awareness. The feeling of distance appears in awareness. And awareness itself has no boundary. It does not stop where the body appears to end. Sound arises in the same field as sensation. Others appear in the same space as self. Difference exists, but division was assumed. Illusion confused distinction with disconnection. It mistook uniqueness for isolation. But awareness was never divided. It simply expressed as many. Separation was normalized through repetition, through story, through survival logic. But it was never an absolute truth. It was a lens, a learned orientation. And now, this lens is being seen. Seeing does not erase individuality. It contextualizes it. You are distinct without being alone. Unique without being cut off. Connected without being merged. As separation loosens, competition softens. Defense relaxes. Listening deepens. Not because danger disappears, but because awareness recognizes it was never isolated. Connection does not need to be created. It is revealed when resistance drops. Notice now the simple fact that these words are being received. Reception itself is relationship. Awareness is already in contact. Illusion learned isolation because it believed it had to stand alone. Awareness remembers it never did. Rest here, not reaching outward, not pulling inward. Just noticing that separation was assumed, not inherent. And in this noticing, something softens. Space widens. Life feels closer. Not overwhelming, but intimate. This is not a conclusion. It is a recognition. And recognition changes orientation. Illusion no longer stands unchallenged. It is seen. And what is seen no longer isolates. Let us move into illusion being unexamined. No one taught you to question the lens. The world was accepted as it appeared, not because you were naive, but because examination was never modeled. What you saw, others confirmed. What you felt, others mirrored. And so perception felt shared, validated, true. Illusion thrives when unseen. At the beginning, there was no reason to doubt. Experience arose. Interpretation followed. Life continued. The lens was transparent. It did not announce itself. as a lens. It felt like reality itself. This is how illusion became stable. No one said, "This is only one way of seeing." No one said, "This might be learned." Instead, the message was subtle. This is how things are, and awareness accepted, not as belief, but as baseline. Questioning did not feel necessary. It felt disruptive. To question perception risked confusion, conflict, uncertainty. Certainty felt safer, and so illusion remained intact. Not because it was strong, but because it was familiar. Unexamined assumptions shape experience quietly. This is dangerous. This is normal. This is how people are. These statements were rarely tested. They were inherited, passed along as common sense. Illusion did not need to defend itself. It was never challenged. And what is unchallenged appears solid. But notice now, the ability to question has arrived, not as doubt, but as curiosity, not as skepticism, but as clarity. Something in you is no longer satisfied with appearances alone. This does not mean the world is wrong. It means perception is being included. Awareness is turning toward its own seeing. This is new, not historically, but personally. For the first time, the lens itself is becoming visible. And when the lens is seen, it loosens. Illusion does not survive inquiry, not aggressive inquiry, but gentle noticing. What am I assuming? What am I believing? What feels unquestioned? These questions are not meant to destabilize. They are meant to reveal. The world does not collapse when illusion is examined. It becomes clearer, more nuanced, more alive. Illusion thrives only while it remains unnoticed. The moment awareness turns toward it, it begins to thin, like fog in morning light. You are not asked to reject what you see, only to notice how you see. Perspective is not wrong, but it is partial. And awareness is wider than any perspective. No one taught you to question the lens, because those before you were also looking through it. This is not blame. It is continuity. And now, continuity meets consciousness. Awareness is ready to include itself in the seeing. This readiness is not effort. It is maturity. Experience has ripened into reflection. Not reflection of thought, but reflection of awareness. Illusion was never examined until now, and that is enough. You do not need to dismantle belief. Belief dissolves when it is seen. You do not need to oppose illusion. Opposition feeds it. Seeing frees it. Rest now as awareness, noticing perception, not correcting, not analyzing, just noticing. This noticing is gentle and it is powerful, because what is seen clearly cannot continue to pretend it is unseen. Illusion thrived in invisibility, and now it is visible. And visibility changes everything. Without force, without struggle, simply through clarity. Let us move into seeing ending learning. The moment illusion is seen, it stops being learned. Not gradually, not eventually, immediately. It may still appear, but it no longer convinces. Seeing interrupts conditioning. Until something is seen, it is repeated, reinforced, rehearsed, strengthened through familiarity. But the moment awareness recognizes, this is a pattern, this is conditioning, this is learned, the cycle breaks, not because the pattern disappears, but because belief withdraws. Illusion depends on participation. It needs agreement. It needs identification. It needs unconscious repetition. Seeing removes that fuel. Notice now the difference between appearance and belief. A thought may arise. An emotion may surface. A reaction may begin. But something sees it. That seeing changes the relationship. What is seen cannot teach itself again. It may visit, but it no longer instructs. It may arise, but it no longer defines. This is how learning ends. Not through resistance, but through awareness. Conditioning survives, only while it is mistaken for truth. Once recognized as conditioning, it becomes optional. Awareness does not need to correct the pattern. Correction implies struggle. Awareness simply sees, and seeing creates space. In that space, response replaces reflex. Choice replaces compulsion. Presence replaces momentum. Illusion may still speak. Old stories may still surface. But they sound different now. Less authoritative. Less urgent. More transparent. They are recognized as echoes, not commands. This is not suppression. Nothing is pushed away. Everything is allowed to arise, but nothing is blindly followed. Awareness interrupts conditioning by arriving first, not after reaction, but with it. Not to stop it, but to include it. And inclusion dissolves inevitability. What once felt automatic now feels optional. What once felt personal now feels impersonal. What once felt permanent now feels passing. Learning stops when illusion is seen, because learning requires belief, and belief cannot survive clarity. This does not mean the end of growth. It means the end of unconscious repetition. Life continues to teach, but not through illusion. Experience continues, but without distortion. Awareness is no longer shaped by what appears. It is informed without being captured. This is maturity, not in years, but in seeing. The nervous system begins to relax. It no longer needs to rehearse protection. The mind softens. It no longer needs to explain everything. The heart opens. It no longer needs to defend. Illusion may still appear, but it is met as appearance, not as authority. And this is freedom. Not freedom from experience, but freedom within it. Notice now the quiet confidence of seeing. It does not announce itself. It does not argue. It simply knows. And this knowing does not need reinforcement. It is self-validating. Illusion was learned through repetition without awareness. Illusion ends through awareness without repetition. Nothing dramatic needs to happen. Nothing needs to collapse. Seeing is subtle, but it is final. Once a mirage is recognized, it never again becomes water. You may still see it, but you do not walk toward it. Rest here now as awareness that sees. Nothing to learn, nothing to unlearn. Just seeing. And seeing is enough. Let us move into nothing having gone wrong. No mistake was made. Not once. Not anywhere along the way. Nothing deviated from what was needed. Illusion was a phase, a classroom, a temporary lens, not a failure, not a detour, a way consciousness learned through experience. Every adaptation served a purpose. Every contraction carried intelligence. Nothing was wasted. You learned what you needed to arrive here. Even confusion was instructive. Even struggle revealed contrast. Even forgetting made remembering possible. Illusion was never an error. It was a method. A way awareness explored itself from the inside, through identity, through limitation, through perspective. Without illusion, clarity would have no reference. Without forgetting, recognition would have no depth. You did not fall asleep by accident. You entered experience fully. And you did not wake up because something went wrong. You woke up because the learning matured. Awareness knows when a lesson is complete. There is no guilt here, no debt, no need to forgive yourself for being human. Nothing was broken. Nothing needs repair. Even the sense of I should have known better is part of illusion. Knowing arrives when it arrives. And now, it has arrived. This does not mean everything will suddenly feel easy. It means nothing is personal anymore. Experience continues, but without the belief that it signifies failure. Challenges arise, but they are met without self-blame. You stop asking, what did I do wrong? And begin noticing what is being revealed. This shift is profound. It returns energy that was spent on judgment. It restores kindness toward your own journey. Illusion taught you empathy because you know what it is like to feel lost. Illusion taught you patience because you learned how long clarity can take. Illusion taught you humility because you saw how convincing misunderstanding can be. Nothing went wrong. Everything belonged. And now, the need to justify the past dissolves. You do not need to explain your journey to anyone. It is complete, not finished, but whole. This wholeness does not depend on understanding every step. It depends on recognizing that every step counted. Rest now in that recognition. Let the body soften. Let the nervous system receive this truth. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was missed. Nothing is late. You are not behind. You are here. And here is exactly where clarity appears. Illusion did not delay you. It prepared you. And now it can rest along with you. No urgency, no pressure, just a quiet certainty that nothing went wrong and nothing needs to be corrected, only appreciated, only understood, only allowed to settle. This is not the end of learning. It is the end of self-doubt. And that changes everything. Rest here. You have arrived without ever leaving. And that arrival is gentle. It is complete. It is now.